You know, when you're 18 trying to just, you know, get your feet wet, it was screw politics, you know? Let's go kill some Russians.
Matt, RPG!
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I had a great time on Red Dawn.
Honestly, when people ask me what's the best time you ever had on a movie, I say Red Dawn every time.
Well, what made me want to do Red Dawn? I mean, I grew up as a child living Red Dawn, you know? I mean, I was leaping out of spider holes, mowing down Ruskies at the age of 8.
I think the movie, you know, touches somewhere a chord, you know, people's desires to live free.
Avenge me! Avenge me!
The idea of living, that instinct is very strong. And I really think that that's what ultimately makes the film work.
Wolverines!
When I grew up, I spent 2 years living in Colorado in the mountains. And all my friends in Colorado, we all thought we were mountain men. And we went hunting all the time. We had trap lines and stuff like this. And the whole thing of living up there, you know, thinking about when, you know, we'd always talk about, you know, when the Russians come, because there was always, we were promised that the Russians would come. And therefore, all of society would break down. And we would have to fight the Russians with our cap-lock rifles and live in the mountains. And so this was sort of a fantasy for many years.
You know, I read the script, and this is just like a, you know, young actor's dream to be the leader of a teenage group of guerrilla fighters in a very controversial movie that got a lot of people a little scared.
My dear departed friend, God rest him, Christopher Penn, showed me the script, and Chris was so excited about it and thought it was just the greatest thing he'd ever seen, ever.
They had a screenplay by Kevin Reynolds called 10 Soldiers, I think. They called me up and they said, "You're the guy that we want to have do this, you know, that I'm the guy you call up for an invasion of the United States, you know, so."
And it just read so well. The original title was called 10 Soldiers, and it since moved on to Red Dawn.
I mean, the idea of it was really compelling. I think everyone had that kind of paranoia at that time.
I mean, I was the only person in Hollywood who would dare do this movie, you know. Hollywood was very left-wing. There's parts of me that are very left-wing. I mean, get me going about corporate greed and I turn into a Maoist. But I have a lot of contradictions. I'm a militarist, you know, and an extreme patriot at times, you know, so I believe in all of that rugged individualism, hogwash, you know.
He's such a throwback to, you know, this is my set, and I'm in charge. And, you know, he was still packing a pistol on the set then, and I liked that a lot.
He's taken a lot of criticism. Of course, he deserves it. When he does an interview with a journalist, he just for an intimidation factor, he leaves a loaded .45 automatic sitting on his desk. So he is a bit of a wild man.
I remember it really vividly going to the audition for Red Dawn. John Milius was in this big office in MGM, and I went up there and he goes, "I got 3 questions for you. Can you ride a horse? Could you shoot an animal? And could you eat it afterwards?" And I said, "Yeah, I've done all 3. He goes, "Well, what animal?" I said, "Well, I shot a squirrel." He goes, "Did you eat it?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You got the job."
He would give me suggestions. He almost didn't give acting notes to the other actors. He did it through me. Of course, a lot of times it didn't make me very popular with the actors. But I was, you know, I was Jed. I was serious as a heart attack.
My family would want me to stay alive. Your family would want you to stay alive. I mean, you think you're so smart, man, but you're just a bunch of scared kids.
Patrick Swayze was the most seasoned of all of us. He was certainly the oldest, and you know, and he was supposed to be the leader and everything. So we all looked up to him because not only was he the oldest, he was the most experienced.
I'll take care of him. Don't worry.
He was so great, and I felt that enthusiasm would come out, and that you would see him more than anybody else be eroded. That he would be, you know, torn apart and that the war would just, you know, grind him down.
He was great because he had worked enough and was experienced enough that he kind of took the youngsters by the hand and helped us along, not just performance-wise, but with horses and with guns and with just trying to keep your head about you in a very confusing landscape at times.
Milius is a very intense director. He's a very wonderful director. I love the man. But we had to call him the general. And he called me and he said, Swayze, you're my lieutenant of the art. So he says, I'm directing these little suckers through you. So he put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and I took it really seriously.
But I do remember that him and Jennifer Grey did not get along very well. And then it was funny later when they did Dirty Dancing together. I was like, oh. I don't remember why. I just remember they fought, like, you know, brothers and sisters.
Of course, me, I was a little overly intense. I think Jennifer Grey probably never wanted to work with me again after that. Of course, we did.
It was very supportive, and he knew right away that I was relying on him for his help and guidance. And what he was dealing with, though, during that movie, the death of his father in real life, and that had just happened, I don't know, a month prior to us starting. So when he's looking at that photo, that scene is an homage to the memory of his dad, who he loved and treasured and worshipped dearly. So what he was going through was pretty heroic, you know.
I love you, Maddie.
I know.
And I don't think Charlie had ever been in a movie before. I think this was his very first thing. He was so enthusiastic because he'd been on the set of Apocalypse Now, you know, and so he says, I just got to do this war movie.
For Charlie to be in his first movie and have it be a war movie with John Milius must have been really hard for him. But he was wonderful and very intense. And it's fun to see him in a comedy now.
You know the scene where we're throwing a football out there? Charlie, bless his heart, he'll be mad at me for saying it. He came up to me and he says, so, Howard, how do you think I'm doing? Am I doing okay, you know, and all this kind of stuff. I said, Charlie, yeah, you're doing good. No, seriously, I'm really worried. I don't, you know, I'm like, come on, man. And look at him now.
Go for it, buddy. All right.
See Thomas Howell, Tommy? He was wonderful because he really was this. I mean, he was really a cowboy. So we all, you know, really looked to him for the riding and the, you know, he had that, you know, swagger. You know what's crazy? I have these cowboy boots on, and Tommy Howell helped me get these cowboy boots on Red Dawn. I swear to God. I just realized that. Look at, they're all beat up. But I remember he got us cowboy boots, and he, you know, taught us how to ride, and he's just a really kind, great soul. And I personally, as an actor, looked to him because he really was this kind of Western kid.
The way that it read, I just liked the idea of playing the kid that kind of goes off the deep end.
All that hate's gonna burn you up, kid.
Keeps me warm.
He becomes like somebody who gets into a river, and the river just carries him away. And it's not that he gets ground up so much, but he's really drowned in the river because he becomes absorbed with the war, you know, and he loves it. And he has to kind of end the way he does, you know, just standing there shooting at a Hind helicopter, you know.
I got a couple of heirlooms I want to hide with you. My granddaughters.
Did I know Jennifer before we got this movie? I do remember that I went to New York and she helped me get my hair permed. This was really far out for her. She was like a New York kid. I remember her being just shaking her head. I mean, I was from Minnesota and, you know, I could kind of get it. But I remember her just, you know, both of us, especially with the guns and the politics, you know, it was really far away from us. So we kind of held on to each other through the whole experience.
She and Jennifer just got into it and took it seriously, you know. They were both real game, you know. They weren't going to not keep up with the boys.
Well, both girls had a wonderful quality to them because they were so fresh, you know, and they had sort of this great kind of teenage quality, you know, that you don't know what's happened to them. You just know something's bad. They've probably been raped by the Russians or something and everything, and they're happy to find their own.
My character was supposed to have been, you know, like brutally raped or something. That's what it was alluded to. So I really wasn't supposed to speak, and that was supposed to be my character. So yeah, I just get to be moody about it.
So what's up your ass?
Shut up! Don't you ever say that again! Hear me? You say that again, I'll kill you.
There was a beautiful scene between Powers Booth and I where I said, I'm going to die before ever having made love. Will you please make love with me? And so we just kind of, you know, he said, okay. And we kind of disappeared out of frame. And they took the scene out of the movie, which was sad because it kind of explained my character. It was a nice scene.
Who are you?
Andrew Tanner, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force.
Well, the character had to be someone that the kids could look up to. You know, they're out here playing soldiers the best they know how to do. I mean, you think about it, what did they know about anything military at all? They didn't know anything except, you know, hunting.
And us being such wild childs, we definitely needed that mature figure, and Powers served that function really well. He was an inspiration because he's a fabulous actor. Also, he became like a big brother to me, like Sam Elliott did in Roadhouse.
This character had symbolically to be somebody who could teach them something about tactics and mix in military tactics with guerrilla warfare and hopefully some form of survival.
You lay down grazing fire in this defilade.
I think that's pretty simple. Anybody got any questions so far?
What's a flank?
A defilade?
I also think that this character came to symbolize some kind of sanity for them, a father figure kind of, and or